Packers and Bears.
I like the Bears at home. Lousy weather, +1.5. Bears have the number 3 rush offense. Don't turn the ball over. Better O-line, better run game, lousy weather. Forget vertical passing. I like the Bears. Their offensive line, I think it's way better than people get. PFF has it at number 3. They've won 2 of the last 3 games against Green Bay. Caleb Williams, 5 TDs and a pick. And that pick was end zone late in the game trying to make a play. The Packers are on a 4-game losing streak heading into the playoffs. They've lost 4 of their last 5 playoff games. 30th ranked total defense. Since Micah Parsons has left, I'm sorry, it's not the same defense. Caleb's going to be comfortable with a better run game. I like the Bears. Take the points to win 27-24.
All right, here we are. A potential offensive showcase is on the menu, folks. I'm absolutely planning to host a live viewing stream for this contest. Please be sure to locate and join that broadcast when it's active. I'm still deliberating on the technical presentation format. Let me know your collective preference in the comments. Would you rather the stream mirror a conventional YouTube video layout, as you see here? Or would you prefer the vertical, mobile-optimized orientation I've utilized previously? I would genuinely value your input on which style you find more engaging for a live experience. Nevertheless, the moment for this specific matchup is finally upon us. It has arrived, and we are all here to witness it unfold. To begin, a commentator highlighted that one of these teams has secured victories in 2 of their last 3 encounters. I must be blunt. I place 0 stock in that particular statistic. Are we not focusing our analysis squarely on the current campaign? Who in the world is concerning themselves with the results from the prior season? Seriously, what relevance does that hold? That historical data feels entirely disconnected from the present reality. Frankly, my analytical focus is intensely concentrated on the observable trajectory and performance level of both franchises over the most recent several weeks. That is the singular metric of consequence to me now that the postseason field is set. Throughout the entire regular season, my repeated mantra was to concentrate solely on the immediate present. Now, at this juncture, my philosophy crystallizes further. I am exclusively invested in how you have appeared over this concluding stretch of games and how you enter this playoff crucible. I am indifferent to what transpired in Week 7. I disregard outcomes from the previous year. Historical context, in the traditional win-loss sense, holds no analytical weight for me at this moment. The operative question is, how are you performing right now? The only manner in which history legitimately factors into this equation is as a source of motivational fuel and collective identity that both squads will undoubtedly harness. The Chicago Bears will rally around the narrative of a division long dominated by their opponent, declaring, "Our time is now," and so forth. You will witness that galvanizing cry. The sentiment of, "We will not fall to the Green Bay Packers on our home field," will permeate their preparation. Conversely, the Green Bay Packers will mobilize around a counter-narrative of sustained supremacy. Their rallying point will be, "We will not succumb to the Chicago Bears in the playoffs. We own this rivalry. We have controlled this dynamic for decades. We are the Green Bay Packers. They occupy the little brother role, and we intend to enforce that hierarchy." Consequently, every individual participant will be emotionally charged by these deep-seated tribal undercurrents, which is precisely why I was so enthusiastic about this pairing. It's why I expressly desired a first-round confrontation between the Packers and the Bears, rather than either team facing a different opponent like the Eagles. This game, irrespective of its eventual flow, will feature 0 surrender. No one will raise the white flag. That psychological capitulation is a more plausible scenario against a non-divisional powerhouse like San Francisco or Philadelphia. But in this context, it is simply inconceivable. Participants will not mentally disengage. They will not. Every athlete will expend every last ounce of effort to emerge victorious. Therefore, this has the potential to be the single most physically and emotionally intense contest of the entire postseason. That inherent volatility is what renders this matchup so profoundly compelling to me. The commentary surrounding the probable shape of this game, particularly from the Bears' vantage point, highlighting their potent rushing attack and the perceived vulnerabilities of the Packers' defense, is intriguing. However, it's worth noting that Green Bay's defensive statistics were significantly inflated in a negative direction due to one profoundly poor performance against a force like Derrick Henry and the Baltimore Ravens. Yet here is the fundamental truth. Those aggregated numbers are almost irrelevant because these two units have already faced one another, and recently. That is the pivotal factor. We could entertain broad statistical analysis if these teams hadn't met this season or if their meetings occurred back in weeks 2 and 8. But that is not the case. They have competed against each other in the immediate past, and that direct head-to-head evidence is the most critical data set. I am less concerned with how Chicago performed against Detroit, though I may reference it later in a specific context, which might seem contradictory, but I will strive to clarify the distinction. The same applies to Green Bay. I do not care how they appeared against Baltimore. That contest is immaterial. This is a confrontation with the Bears. They are distinct challenges presented at different points in the calendar. Consequently, the data from their most recent clash is itself somewhat convoluted due to the game's unusual narrative. Caleb Williams' final passing numbers appear respectable, but that efficiency was not necessarily evident throughout the first 3 quarters. The presented clips don't fully capture the sequences from the fourth quarter and overtime, which were pivotal. It was a chaotic affair where Jordan Love, for his part, was operating with noticeable comfort and efficacy for much of the contest. The final box score will not reflect this, as his output was ultimately insufficient, but there was no initial indication he was destined for a poor performance. Then, Malik Willis was inserted and delivered a stunning, nearly unbelievable display of athletic playmaking. Ultimately, the result did not favor Green Bay, and both teams found immense success on the ground. The Packers amassed 192 rushing yards on 44 attempts. The Bears were similarly potent, gaining 150 yards on 26 carries, a figure obviously influenced by the absence of a key defensive lineman. This game, in my assessment, was largely a toss-up. Caleb Williams did perform well, notwithstanding a critical interception. Such moments are inherent to the game. The rushing data is telling. In their other meeting, Chicago ran for 138 yards on 32 carries, while Green Bay managed 117 on 26. The clear conclusion is that both offenses can establish the run against the opposing defense. The unknown variables are the exact game day conditions in Chicago and the health status of a workhorse back like Josh Jacobs. There is also the question of Jordan Love's physical capacity and the game plan designed to protect him, particularly regarding head injury protocols. The forecast suggests blustery conditions, with winds around 15 to 17 miles per hour, enough to see flags stirring on the goalposts. There is a chance of precipitation, indicated by a snowflake icon. But by kickoff, it appears any significant weather event may have passed. Temperatures will be in the 30s. So, the environment points to a cold, somewhat windy day, not drastically dissimilar from the conditions during their previous encounters. It would not surprise me, therefore, to see analogous strategic approaches from both sides. Facing a divisional opponent 3 times in a single season is perpetually a complex challenge, a consistent theme observed across the NFL. When 2 division rivals collide in the playoffs, it represents the ultimate high-stakes grudge match. The driving motivation transcends merely winning. It becomes a ferocious aversion to losing. Teams fight not just to win, but perhaps more intensely, not to lose, especially to this particular adversary. Sometimes this nuance is misinterpreted as playing not to lose, in a negative, conservative sense from a schematic standpoint. However, from the player's emotional and motivational perspective, the energy is rooted in a defiant refusal to accept defeat. You are psychologically fleeing from the humiliation of a loss as fervently as you are chasing the glory of a victory. It is 2 sides of the same competitive coin. We will not lose to this team, coupled with, we deeply desire the satisfaction of beating them. This dynamic guarantees a fiercely contested battle, which is precisely why I am committed to live streaming it. In terms of concrete predictions, I find them somewhat superfluous at this precise moment, from my analytical standpoint. We are standing at the event horizon. The outcome hinges overwhelmingly on the caliber of execution the Green Bay Packers can muster. A point was raised regarding the potential for Caleb Williams to encounter difficulties in his playoff debut, noting that first postseason starts can be uniquely destabilizing for quarterbacks. I acknowledge that historical trend. However, he is not a rookie, and he is orchestrated by Ben Johnson, a coordinator who will emphatically prioritize the running game. The tangible reality is this. If the Bears demonstrate early that they can gash the Packers on the ground, If Green Bay proves incapable of stopping the run, then the Chicago offensive approach will become ruthlessly simple and repetitive. It will be a diet of run plays and high-percentage layup passes. Ben Johnson is not seeking to make a symbolic statement through Caleb Williams' arm in this environment. This is not to suggest he will baby his quarterback or refrain from taking calculated downfield shots, allowing Williams to be himself. But the structural foundation will be the run game. Furthermore, Caleb Williams himself possesses a dynamic, game-altering capacity with his legs. When we examine the historical data concerning quarterbacks in their first playoff starts, much of that information is inherently skewed toward more traditional, stationary pocket passers, often true rookies on rosters with less overall talent and experience. I am not convinced that template cleanly applies to Caleb Williams and these Chicago Bears at this specific moment. In those tense, chaotic playoff moments where a designed play completely breaks down, Williams has an escape valve with his mobility that a quarterback like, for instance, Jared Goff in his early career, did not. This does not automatically guarantee a spectacular statistical explosion from Williams, but it substantially elevates the floor of his performance. It makes it significantly easier for him to avoid being the central catalyst for a disaster, to avoid a multi-turnover meltdown that defines the game. Even if he experiences a sequence of errant passes, an occasional trait due to his aggressive, creative style, the offensive structure built by Ben Johnson, featuring a reliable run game and schemed easy completions like screen passes that can gain 25 yards, provides a stabilizing framework. Therefore, I do not readily envision a scenario where the entire operation completely unravels, unless Caleb Williams has a genuine, paralyzing, deer-in-the-headlights moment, where he scrambles into a catastrophic sack or a devastating strip fumble, or forces a back-breaking interception that spirals into a total personal collapse, clearly overwhelmed by the moment. Barring that specific psychological breakdown, I believe he possesses the individual playmaking talent and the systemic support to navigate the inevitable ebbs and flows of a debut playoff contest. His resilience is bolstered both by Ben Johnson's scheme and his own inherent athletic gifts. So, here we are, the Chicago Bears versus the Green Bay Packers. The inherent drama is remarkable. The Packers, the 7 seed, are favored to win on the road against the 2 seed. That in itself is a fascinating reflection of the perceived momentum and quality of these teams entering the tournament. Those are my preliminary contemplations. I scrutinize every single comment. Therefore, whether your perspective aligns with or contradicts my own, let us delve into detailed discourse. Let us engage in passionate debate, but ultimately, let us derive enjoyment from the intellectual exchange. Please consider subscribing. We are actively constructing a remarkable digital community here and would be thrilled to have you participate. My objective is to forge a space where we experience a genuine sense of connection and shared enthusiasm for the sport. I believe we are making significant progress toward that goal. Additionally, please remember to apply a positive rating to this video, as this action substantively assists with content visibility within the platform's algorithmic systems. Thank you very much for your time and engagement.